Miss my unicorn light. It's hard to do things now. All right. That's fine. It's fine. You don't need to see me. You don't need to see me. It was fine. All right. Hi, Cooley. And I want to talk to you about J.R.R. Tolkien's The Silmarillion. Because it's a fantastic book. It doesn't get enough love because it's so freaking hard to read. Professor Tolkien was a professor of linguistics. He invented the Elvish language. And when I say that, I mean he invented a fully functioning language, complete with a vocabulary of over 800 unique words, each with its own grammatical rules for how to pluralize it, conjugate it, and all that. It's an actual functioning language. And he created Middle-earth to be a place for that to exist. He wanted someone to speak his language. And he didn't want to just sit in a corner talking to himself, so he made the elves in Middle-earth so that these elves could talk to each other. You know, Elf 1 can talk to Elf 2, and that's how I can watch my language work, right? So anyways, Tolkien, like I said, language was his passion. And he was an absolute expert at Oldie English. And it really makes the Silmarillion hard to read. Combined with, he writes it with it being like, it's basically it tells about the beginning, you know. So he writes it kind of like the Bible, you know, as far as like how it reads. I'll just start off with just a little snippet of the first bit here. Let's see. Starts off with the Ainulindule, music of the Ainur. There was Eru, the One, who in Arda was called Iluvatar, and he made first the Ainur, the Holy Ones, that were the offspring of his thought, and they were with him before aught else was made. That's the first sentence. So it's tough. It's kind of a slog, and it turned me away from it for a very, very long time. And thanks to different friends and different videos on YouTube that I watched, I was able to kind of chip away at it until I was able to grasp it the way that I wanted to. And I wanted to make a video because I wanted to go back and reread the Silmarillion again. And I thought, well, I'm at it. Maybe I can help do that for someone else. So here we go. So in the Silmarillion, it starts off with our first character, which is the god, the capital G god, the big guy. And his name is, I already said it, but Eru Iluvatar. How fantastic is that name? So Eru creates the Ainur. And the Ainur are basically like demigods, like and angels and demons, and well, demons come later, but at first they're all just good beings, right? That Eru's created. So they're all just let's say angels and demigods, for lack of better words. The most powerful of the Ainur was Melkor. Melkor would eventually become the first Dark Lord. Before anything was created, it was just this, I forget the place that he dwells in. The place that Eru dwells in, which is basically nowhere, right? And it's outside of the universe. The universe doesn't exist yet. So whatever void Eru is in, the Ainur are there with him. And Melkor goes out in search of the secret fire, or the flame imperishable. And what this is, the flame imperishable or the secret fire, is what Ainulindule uses to create life. It's what he used to create the Ainur. It's what he'll eventually use to create the elves and the men of Middle Earth. And Melkor's jealous. Oh, he's so mad. Because he's the most powerful. He knows more of Eru's mind and is more like Eru than any of the other Ainur. He's so much more powerful than any of them. He should be able to create. And he becomes impatient. And so he goes out looking for the secret fire. And if you've heard the secret fire before, I feel like you have, it may be from the movie or possibly even the book of the Fellowship of the Ring, in the Mines of Moria, when they're confronted by the Balrog and Gandalf is standing on the bridge and he's calling out to the Balrog and he says, "I am the servant of the secret flame." When he says that, what he's saying is basically, I am the servant of Eru. So that's that. Melkor can't find the secret flame because the secret flame is actually in Eru as part of him. So the first thing that happens in the book is called the Ainulindule. The Ainulindule translates in Elvish to, and all these funny words, by the way, are Elvish, translates to the music of the Ainur. And what happens is Eru gives a theme to all of the Ainur to sing. He's basically, think of it like him kind of conducting, right? He's kind of conducting this choir. And it's also said by Tolkien in the Silmarillion that the voices of the Ainur sound like violas and organs and trumpets and pianos and lutes and lyres and all these different instruments combined with a choir, right? So imagine just all the sweet music you've ever heard in your life just combined together. And that's what the music of the Ainur sounds like. And it's going on. And as this theme that Eru has given them is going, and they're all singing, and doing their thing, they're having visions of what Middle Earth is going to be, of what Arda is going to be, and Ea. But we'll get to those things in a minute. But they're seeing the will of Ainulindule. Well, at the same time, Melkor, now he's just gotten back from looking for the secret fire, and he's all kinds of mad. He starts singing, but it's discordant. It's in opposition to Eru's theme. And so some of the Ainur at this time are drawn to Melkor's side. They start singing his song. Okay? So already at this point, Melkor's kind of drawing over minions, these powerful beings, to his side. It's very much akin to the stories of Lucifer and his turn against God, but in Tolkien's way. So after that first song, yes, and the Ainur they're shaken because Eru, their creator, their one, they just watched Melkor come in with this powerful song that combated his song and even pulled some of them to his side. But then a second song starts. Eru doesn't seem bothered at all by this. And he starts a second theme. And Tolkien says it is like and yet unlike unto the first. But again, Melkor brings in his discordant song to combat. And at this point, their songs go back and forth. The Melkors will become more powerful than Nerus, and then Melkors, and then Nerus, and Melkors. And then it seems like Melkor's song is the stronger. And as that happens, all of the Ainur stop singing. They're shocked. They don't know what to do. But then a third theme starts. And this one is more beautiful than any of the others. And of course, again, Melkor tries to combat it. But even as he does, Eru Iluvatar ends the entire thing with one final note. And he stands, and now he is stern. And I actually want to break the book out so I can quote Eru at this point, because what he says is pretty awesome. Eru says, "Mighty are the Ainur, and mightiest among them is Melkor. But that he may know, and all the Ainur, that I am Iluvatar. Those things that ye have sung, I will show them forth, that ye may see what ye have done. And thou, Melkor, shalt see that no theme may be played that hath not its uttermost source in me, nor can any alter the music of my despite. For he that attempteth this shall prove but mine instrument in the devising of things more wonderful, which he himself hath not imagined." So Eru is basically saying, Melkor, do you not realize that I am the one that created you and all of your brothers? Do you not understand that all of your power and all of your might is just a small piece of mine that I've given to you? Do you not think for a second that I would know every thought that you have? And I'm going to let everything that was just sung happen, including your discordant parts. So I'm going to let your evil that you created happen. So when they were singing, they were basically singing the story of all of Middle Earth. And Melkor was singing all the bad stuff that happens. And Eru says, I'm going to let all of that happen. And Melkor, you're going to see that even as you try to usurp me, and even as you try to conquer the goodness that I'm going to create, you will only be an instrument in making things more wonderful than you could possibly imagine. Even in all of your evil, I will make good. Great stuff. So that is the gist of the music of the Ainur. And Eru says, "Behold your music. Behold what your music has done." And he uses the secret fire and he sends it out to the universe. Well, sends it out to create the universe as they have sung. And the universe is called Ea. And the Ainur enter Ea. And to do that, they have to make themselves bodies, which they can shapeshift pretty much into anything. You know, they're gods. But so they go and there's three main Valar, three main guys of the Ainur. one Manwë, which is kind of like the leader of them. Aule, which is a craftsman, and Olmo, which is like a kind of like a god of waters. Well, they start to create Arda. Now, Arda is the planet that Middle Earth resides on. So the universe is called Ea. The planet is Arda, and on that planet Arda is Middle Earth. So they go down. Arda is barren. It's nothing. So Olmo goes down. He's creating seas, and rivers and such. And Aule is a craftsman, so he's bringing up mountains and things. And everything that they do, Melkor is there to just... You ever see like cats do that little thing where they just like knock something off a shelf and they just go over to it and they're just like... That's what Melkor's doing, okay? Melkor, like, Aule will raise up a mountain, and then he'll go over and raise up another mountain. But as he's doing that, here comes Melkor, and he, like, squashes the mountain flat and, like, turns it into a crater or a valley, And Olmo will make a big sea, and Melkor will come along and just spill that sea onto the land. Let's put it over here. Let's tear that down. No matter what Manwë, Aule, and Olmo do to create Arda, Melkor's there to just kind of mess it up. And that goes forward to explain why the topography, the geography of Arda is not perfect. And that's why mountains are all jagged and stuff, and why valleys are so deep, and why there's rivers and huge lakes in different areas. Is because Melkor was in there wrecking things, or else everything would be real neat and orderly the way that they wanted to make it. Anyways, so that's pretty much the first conflict between Melkor and the other Ainur. And this continues until the last of the Ainur comes down to Arda, and his name is Tulkas. And Tulkas he's a scrapper. He's a fighter. Melkor is the mightiest of the Ainur. Tulkas is the toughest. He's just a scrapper. He's like the Hulk, I guess. All right. And as he's coming down from, the other realm or whatever, down to Arda, everyone can hear his laughter. And I don't know if that's the way he laughed. Maybe, I don't know. Melkor hears his laughter and is frightened away. He wants no part of Tulkas. Even though Melkor is the mightiest, Tulkas like the scrappiest. Tulkas probably whooped Melkor in a scrap. And then that ushers in a time of peace in Arda. And it's known as the Spring of Arda. At this point in the book, that concludes the Ainulindule and begins the next section where Tolkien abandons the narrative just to kind of go into like a reference point. This is called the Valaquenta, and it's where he describes all of the Ainur, which are, I'm going to do that now, which are broken into two different groups. Those groups are the Valar, or Vala is a singular, Valar is the group name, and the Maiar, which is the plural, and then Maya is the singular. Now, the Valar are the more powerful of those two groups, and they are the fewer of the two groups. There's tons of Maya. There's only 15 Valar to start, but that's counting Melkor, who is pretty much immediately cast out, which leaves 14 Valar that are basically like a pantheon of gods, because Eru's still like outside of the reality of Arda, and all of them kind of went down. So they're like the guardians of the planet, I guess. So I'm just gonna go through them pretty quickly. The king, the leader of the Valar, is named Manwë. And Manwë is also like the Lord of the Skies. The giant eagles that are in the Lord of the Rings, those are his eagles. And he has a wife named Varda. She's the queen. And she's also known as the Lady of Light, which she's known in Elvish as Elbereth Githorniel. Which if you've read the books, you've probably heard her name before. If you've seen the movies, I don't think she's mentioned in the movies, but probably in a song. If you paid attention to the songs that the elves sing, they probably sing about her. But she's very, very important to the elves. Elbereth Githorniel, Varda. And Melkor, actually, when he first saw Varda, he fell in love with her. He was like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. But she's the Lady of the Light. And so he's actually afraid of her as well. That's fine. Anyways, next is Ulmo. Ulmo is the Valar of the waters. So he actually spends most of his time alone in the waters. Oceans, rivers, seas, lakes, ponds. All these things are his domain. And he is one of only 2 of the Valar that are not married. The next is Aule, the craftsman. So he's the one that creates things. He was the one building mountains whenever Arda was being created. And his wife is named Yavanna. And Yavanna is the Valar of the Valar of nature and growing things. So plants, animals, nature kind of thing. Yavanna has a sister named Vanna, and Vanna is kind of like the decorator, the beautifier. So she's like flowers and colorful natural things. And Vanna is married to Orome. Orome is the Vala of the Hunt. And he rides a very important steed named Nahar. Now, the neat thing about Nahar is the first in a long line of very powerful, amazing super horses. And thousands 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 of years down the line, one of his great Infinity Greats grandsons is the horse Shadowfax that Gandalf rides throughout the Lord of the Rings. So neat little tie in there. And Orome has a sister named Nessa, who's actually named by Tolkien as being the weakest of the Valar, but also the fastest. She's quick. She's real fast. She can run. She can outrun a deer just on her feet. And Nessa is married to Tulkas, the champion that we talked about earlier that scared off Melkor. And then the other 5 Valar are known as the Feyenturi, or the Masters of Spirits. So these are like the kind of the ones that deal with like the dead and such. So you've got Mandos, which is the judge. He resides in what's called the Halls of Mandos. And he's the judge. He's the one that, decides whether or not elves are reborn and when they're reborn and other such stuff. He's the keeper of the dead. So elves live forever, but they can die in Middle Earth. But when they die in Middle Earth, they still don't die. They go to the halls of Bandos until such a time where they're granted like a rebirth and get to finish out their days in Valinor, the Undying Lands. So Mandos is the one that kind of judges that. Then his wife is Vare, which is like the fate, like the fates, you know. She's like a fate. And she's also responsible for recording the deeds of Middle Earth. So she weaves it. So she's weaving this great tapestry that contains all of Middle Earth's stories on it. Then there's Irmo, who is the Valar of visions and things like that, and dreams. And then there's Este, who is his wife, and she is the Valar of rest and healing. And then last, but definitely not least, is Nienna. Nienna is the Lady of Grief and Sorrow. But she's also the Lady of Mercy and Hope. Her grief and sorrow, she always seems sad. She's always weeping. But her weeping and seeming sadness comes from her compassion and her mercy and her hope. She's the Valar of compassion and wisdom as well. And one of her followers is a Maya named. We won't get to that just yet. She has a very important follower. We'll get to it in a second. Because right now we're going to talk about the Maya. That's all the Valar. That's all 14 of them. Hope you're counting. Hope you're writing it down. Now we're on to the Maiar. And the Maiar are like lesser. They're like angels. So like the Valar are like pantheon of like demigods, lowercase g gods. And then the Maiar are kind of like angels or quasi-gods, I guess. And there's 14 or 15, then 14 of the Valar. Tolkien never tells us how many Maiar there are. But it's seemingly lots and lots. There's a lot. And he doesn't name them all, but he does name a few. Some of the more important ones, you have Eonwe, who's the Herald of Manwë, and therefore kind of the chief Maiar ish. Eonwe usually shows up before, well, obviously the Herald of, he shows up before Manwë does. They go, hey, you brought the attention of Manwë. He's coming. And then his wife is Ilmari. And Ilmari is the handmaiden of Varda, who is the queen of the Valar, Manwë's wife. Then other ones, there's Aryan, who will eventually become the sun, or the one that moves the sun across the sky. And Tilion, that is the same for the moon. And then there's Orlor. I knew I was going to say it wrong. Aloran. Aloran is a servant of Nienna, the Lady of Grief and Compassion and Mercy. And she teaches Aloran very well, because Aloran, he learns compassion, and he learns mercy, and he learns the benefit and the wisdom in mercy. And when he comes later to Middle Earth, he takes on the name of Mithrandir, or Gandalf. Gandalf is a Maya. If you didn't know already. Gandalf is a very, very powerful being, and he's sent to Middle-earth from Valinor, where all the Valar Maiar are originally from. But that happens later. The last last few that I'm going to talk about. Remember, I was talking earlier in the Ainulindule when Melkor is singing his first discordance. Some of the Maiar come and they join him. Well, one of these Maiar goes by the name of Mairon, which means the beloved. He was a pupil of Ale, the craftsman, the god of Valar of crafts. And he studies under Ale and becomes the greatest craftsman in existence ever. And after joining Melkor and becoming his chief lieutenant, Mairon is no longer deserving of the name the Beloved, and so the elves give him a different name, the Abhorred. And the elvish name for the Abhorred? Sauron. Sauron is also a Maiar. So Gandalf and Sauron, same type of being. Sauron is more powerful, though. Don't get it twisted. And then one more little group of Maiar that joined Melkor that I want to mention are what's known as the Valarakar, or Valarakar. Let's call them by their easier name, Balrogs. And I say Balrogs with an S. If you've seen the movies and the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Rings, when Gandalf goes and he's fighting a Balrog, that Balrog's known as Durin's Bane, and he's pretty bad. He's pretty bad. You see how hard of a time that Gandalf has fighting him. That was just one Balrog of many, many, many Balrogs that Melkor had under his command. And the chief of those Balrogs was named Gothmog, and he was more powerful than any of the other Balrogs. So imagine that Balrog that Gandalf had such a hard time fighting, and now imagine he has a bigger, tougher boss. That's Gothmog. So I think this video is 33 minutes long, which is absurd. I'm gonna stop. There's so much Tolkien goodness to be had, that there's a lot to talk about. And this is just the first 2 chapters, which is like this much of the book. It's like that much. So many cool things. We haven't even met Feanor yet. Feanor is one of my favorite characters. He sucks, don't get me wrong. Feanor's just the worst. He's the worst. But he's interesting. Sometimes the worst are the interestingest. Shut up. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. So yeah, anyways, so I hope you liked it. I don't know. Thumbs up, I guess, if you liked it. So that I know, and or if you're from the Discord, and maybe mention it on there. I don't know. If you liked it, let me know, and I'll continue. I'll make some more. Bye.